Hi guys, welcome to the next video of the RESTful tutorial series. For next couple of videos we will look into the security aspect of the RESTful web service. There is one approach which is basically used to secure the RESTful web service, and that is using the SSL over HTTP basic authentication. There could be few services which we might need to secure because they might access some restricted data, and we don't want everybody to call those services without authenticating them. We want to validate their authentication before they are allowed to access those services. We will first see the basic authentication approach, and then in the next video we will take this to a next level and add SSL to it. The security related tags for the web application components or the URLs are generally declared in the web.xml deployment descriptor. The security methods are basically role based, and hence the URLs are restricted not only by the username and password but also by the roles of the users. These username, passwords and their roles can be defined in one of the files of the server. In Tomcat it is Tomcat users.xml file where we can define these. For our example, our web services can be accessed by two types of roles. One is admin and another one is member. Let's first see these users and their roles in Tomcat users XML file here. Here I have two users, Ratnesh and Vaibhav. Ratnesh has admin, member and admin roles, while Vaibhav has only the member role. So this is the way users and their roles are set up in Tomcat users.xml file, and then we need to declare security constraint for our URLs in the web.xml file here. Let's check the tags and the elements involved in this. The security constraints are applied to various web application resources using the security-constraint tag. Let's start adding this in the web.xml file after the servlet tag. Inside security constraint tag we need to mention the URLs which are restricted, and this we can do using the web resource collection tag. And inside web resource collection tag we have something called URL pattern, using which we can specify the URLs that we want to secure. First add the web resource collection tag. Inside this we have something called URL pattern. Now let's try to secure the get user info service. So let's give the URL for that service here. Now inside web resource collection tag we can also specify the HTTP methods which are allowed to access this particular URL using the HTTP-method tag. Let's give it get method now. Now inside this security constraint we have something called auth constraint, using which we can list the roles that are allowed to access this service. The roles we can put in the role name tag inside this auth constraint. Let's give it member now. So only the members of this site can access this service, and this is what we are trying to tell here using these tags. Now one thing to note here is that we can add multiple web resource collection tag inside this security constraint tag, but we can have only one auth constraint tag. So this means that the role name specified in the auth constraint tag will employ on all the web resource collection tags. So to specify URLs for a different role, we should be adding a different security constraint tag. So the idea here is that we need to specify all the URLs for a particular role in one security constraint tag, and then create a separate security constraint tag for all the URLs with a different role name. Now after the security constraint tag is defined, we need to define the authentication method to be used for the URLs which we want to secure. And there are basically 4 authentication methods available, and they are basic, digest, form and client. In this video we are going to look into the basic authentication method. Now the basic authentication method, how it works is, when you access a secured URL like this from your web browser, then a pop-up window will appear in the browser and you need to provide the username and password there. And afterwards this username and password will be matched by the server with the user entries present in the tomcat users.xml file here. Now while matching the entries, it will also try to match the role name of the user with the role name of the security constraint tag for that particular URL. So here we are trying to say that get user info service can only be accessed by the member role. So while trying to match the roles and the users here, the server will try to match the username, password and the role name also. And if all these 3 things match, then the server will call the servlet container to cater to the request coming in. This one. And then you will be allowed to access this service. Now the way to specify the authentication method is by using another tag called login config outside the security constraint tag, and provide the authentication method here in the auth method tag inside the login config tag. Let's give it basic here. So one thing to note here is that we can have only one login config per application. So the authentication method will be used for all the URLs that are secured in the web.xml file. Now let's build this project and let's try to test it out and see how basic authentication works. Okay, let's give the URL for the web service. We are trying to trigger the URL which is secure now using the basic authentication. Let's try to hit this. Okay, so we got this pop-up window which actually is coming from the basic authentication, and here we can give the username and password which we stored in the tomcat users.xml file. Click on login. Okay, so we got the response back from the service, and hence we are allowed to access the service which was secured by the basic authentication. This is the way basic authentication works. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.